Women who gave nice guys a chance, how did it work out? He seemed a bit shy, but goofy, smart, generally kind when he approached me. So I agreed to go out and we hit it off at first. Deep, meaningful conversations about our personal challenges, him quickly meeting my friends, and me becoming the first person he called after a family emergency. We were both pretty vulnerable, but things were seemingly progressing somewhat well. One day he was on Tinder in bed next to me, and when called on it, he said that dating me had made him realize that he needed more confidence and experience with women and thus needed to date a lot more different people, but that he only freaked the others at their house, so I was obviously his number one. I freaked, cried, and broke things off. He called me the next day to casually ask me out to the next Hunger Game movie. I got an STD screening the next week. He harassed me at work for another 6 months. All the guys I've known or dated that felt it necessary to label themselves nice guys turned out to be absolutely horrible humans. Either they had a bad temper, horrible morals, or just didn't want to take no for an answer. One even turned out to be an emotional, abusive alcoholic. The actual nice guys I've dated or called friends were the ones who didn't feel the need to label themselves nice guy. In fact, the best of them usually warned me and others that they were not all that nice, but always turned out to be the sweetest, most understanding, appreciative, and kind guys I've had the pleasure of knowing. We dated, went on and on about what great, compassionate guy he was. He was actually just a garden variant, abusive psycho. He once said to me, "I wish you had been abused so you would realize how great I am." What the freak? Who says that? He went out bowling with his friends, and when he came home, he complained to me that for the first time in his life, a hot girl had hit on him while he was out. He was unlucky enough to actually have a girlfriend. He seemed genuinely sad he had to turn her down and expected me to be grateful he did. He proposed to me after we worked on a group project. When I turned this down, the guy I barely knew and definitely never dated, he stalked and harassed me for about half a year until he found his next true love. He was a serial proposer. He tried to rape me because I belonged to him and only him now. He thought a girlfriend couldn't say no. I ended up putting him in the hospital. I was 16, he was the same age. He tried to pin me down in my bed, so I kicked him in the stomach and shoved him off my bed. I started beating him with a baseball bat I kept from my childhood, so it was pretty small. I only broke a few fingers and did some damage to his jaw as far as I was told from some mutual friends. I never bothered pushing for details. I kicked him out of my house and just never spoke to him again. I should have pressed charges, but I didn't know if I would get in trouble for hitting him with a bat. As far as I know, he never really told anybody what happened and never really made up a story, but I wouldn't really know if he ever did because I moved out only a month later and eventually stopped talking to everyone there. Not well. He was funny and friendly in public, but turned into a different person as soon as we were behind closed doors. He was basically your textbook abuser, manipulative, controlling, and demanding. He wanted to do some really weird and degrading sex stuff and acted like I was the psycho for not wanting to. He made angry comments like, "I'm just trying to be romantic and you keep freaking out." I got out of the relationship before he could hit or rape me. Oh, and he still insists that he was the nicest guy I've ever met. Went on a brilliant date. I had the best time. He came back to mine because he said he couldn't get a taxi. I put him on the sofa and he came into my room at night and tried to have sex with me. I pretended to be asleep, hoping he'll stop. He didn't. He fell asleep with his hands on my boob and his heart on my back. Then in the morning he left and never spoke to me again. He was always nice to me, but very easily jealous anytime another guy spoke to me. We were just friends and only went out once, yet he felt he needed to make me feel bad whenever other guys gave me a little attention. He also had a horrible drinking problem and serious anger issues, and the whole time he was trying to woo me, he was also hooking up with his ex and ended up getting her pregnant. So yeah, no regrets about that. He was a friend of a friend, we went on a date and it just didn't click. Last thing I heard from him was a long rant about how immigrants were stealing his chance to get a girlfriend. Because girls like being mistreated by evil Muslims and the nice guys forever alone. That's what I felt like I dodged the bullet. He was a Christian guy I thought might be a change up from some of the freak boys I've been dating. Well, he was insecure as freak as it turns out and constantly negged me. He was also a pathological liar. He once told me I had told him I did not believe in Jesus even though I specifically told him I was non-religious when he started dating. When I broke up with him, I told him he treated me like crap and that I was a darn good catch. He didn't wash his foreskin properly. I nearly threw up when trying to perform certain acts. 1 out of 10 would not repeat. Unfortunately, we dated for 7 years too long. I was his first girlfriend and he was the sweetest guy ever. Not a mean bone in his body. My parents loved him, friends loved him, his families loved me, and everyone thought he was the one because how could he not be? He was so kind, polite, just an all-around amazing guy. I loved him, but I just never fell in love with him. From the day we graduated, he really dialed it up a notch, and everything he did revolved about wanting to take care of me. He was just wanting to do everything for me so I didn't have to. He got a great job right out of college, bought a house, was making great money for the both of us, and it really made me feel I couldn't be my own person or my own success story, and that could never be if we stayed together. I ended up being the one to break up with him. The entire world hated me for it, but I made it easy for our mutual friends and just saw my own way out of our social circles. I got a lot of, how could you do this to him? How could you be so cruel? And they were right, and that I should have listened to my guts earlier and ended it years ago. In everyone's mind, there was no justification reason why I would do that to such a great guy, to someone so perfect. But in the end, I knew I wasn't perfect for him. We went our own ways and he ended up marrying a wonderful woman, from what I heard, and I married my now husband. Today is our 1-year anniversary. We have a baby on the way due in April. As he sleeps soundly next to me, I am so thankful I made the decision I did. I can't tell you how scary it is to think about my life would have been like had I stayed. It terrifies me to think I wouldn't have what I have now. At first, he was very charming, lovely to be with, but he became extremely controlling very quickly, telling me what to wear, how to do my makeup, claiming all the typical nice guy things like, you're prettier without makeup. This was only 3 weeks in, and when I called it off with him, he begged me to stay, claiming he would just protect me from the freak boys out there, and started spewing crap about how girls never gave nice guys a chance. Whatever, man, I'm out of here. I was in a relationship with a nice guy for nearly 5 years. Over time, he gradually convinced me to push everyone out of my life, family included. He also started doing sexual stuff to me in my sleep. When I found out and told him to stop, he apologized and said he would stop. He didn't. I started hardly ever sleeping so as to avoid him violating me in my sleep. When I started applying to universities to pursue my master's degree, he told me that I didn't need to keep going to school because he loved me and was going to take care of me forever. He also broke my belongings when we fought, but he was always so kind, romantic, and convincing. All of this was so gradual, it took years to see what a mess our relationship was. After I broke up with him, he continued to send me gifts for about a year and then start sending me emails after I moved across the country. But then he got a new girlfriend about a year ago. I haven't heard from him since. Nice people are nice, but not all nice people are good people. Turned out to be an awful human being. Was a nice shy guy at first, but upon getting into a serious relationship that was just for the public, behind closed doors was a very insecure person. He had decent looks but was short and skinny with glasses. I didn't mind and never used that against him, but it affected his confidence and he took it out on everyone else. Even after trying to work on it for months and always reassuring him, he ended up cheating on me several times and then hid behind the nice guy victim thing. He went and told everyone that I was out of his league and just used him as a place to live, and I had been the one cheating, which wasn't true. I moved out and got on my own place immediately. To proceed, I could and cut all ties. Nothing bad, it was just bland, kinda like the guy, just a whole bunch of eh. He was like ice cream. He would be a sad, flavorless vanilla with freezer burn. All we really did was hang out at his house, watch South Park, back when it was cool. He would talk about how women weren't interested in him, which was weird because, hello, I'm dating you here. We were each other's first and I wanted to do more than just watch him play World of Warcraft and watch South Park. He wasn't interested until I was going to break up with him. We didn't stay friends and I learned not to date coworkers when you work in an office of 3. He went on and on about how he wouldn't just use me for sex. I mean, I'd hope not. Why the need to tell me repeatedly? Try to buy me expensive gifts after one date, went over the top of compliments. I got very uncomfortable and canceled our second date. A nice guy friend. Friends with my friends, I met him and immediately felt creeped out. Friends all liked him, so I squashed my feelings and kept hanging out with him. He played lip service to being feminist, but he'll hit on everyone in the friends group when we all made it very clear we didn't want to freak him. We all eventually realized he was super creepy and backed away, but he was still living with some people in the friend group and we were afraid to explicitly cut him out in that situation. He ended up telling his female roommate that she looked rapeable. Nice guy partner. I thought he was going to be a nice guy. He hung out in hippie pants, talked about how much he loves V for Vendetta, Japan, martial arts, he drank White Russian, he talked so much crap all the time, he'd offer me massages occasionally. I've been dating him for over a year. He's super kind and emotionally mature. He's only really crappy talky when he's drinking or playing games, and before we started dating, we only hung out while drinking and played D&D. He genuinely meant those massages offered platonically and was shocked when I accepted a massage, and having rejected him once before, kissed him during it. And the rest, he just really enjoys and doesn't realize that he's a neckbeard associate. My takeaway is to trust my gut, but don't rely as so much as I did on stereotypes. In January, I met an exchange student at my university. I guess he fell for me pretty hard because he made every excuse to see me. It wasn't in a creepy way, since I was part of the group of students assigned to show the 3 exchange students around, but it was obvious. The overly eager nice guy had always turned me off, and I was extremely annoyed by it. I felt bad because he never did anything wrong or mean. I just wasn't into him. He was persistent, and in March I finally gave him a shot. After years of your typical douchebag college guy, I saw the light. Having a nice guy is the dream. He's not the nice guy with no self-respect. He's a nice, respectable guy. He can still put me in my place when I'm definitely being dramatic or ridiculous. He made me come first every time we had sex because ladies first. We cooked meals for each other pretty evenly. He's very conscious of my needs emotionally, physically, and mentally. He had to return to Germany in September, but a few days before Christmas, I'll be a flight from Texas to spend the holidays with him and his family. I'm excited beyond belief. He made up a whole scenario about a fake job. He told me he worked with Kimberly Clark as a graphic design person, which already was strange sounding. As my suspicions grew, I asked him for a selfie from his office. He proceeded to navigate himself an hour away from his house to an actual high rise within the city. Took a picture of himself in an elevator mirror without realizing I'm not stupid, as he left his facial piercing in and was wearing a hat. Casey is not that lenient. When confronted, he said he didn't know why he lied. I was with a nice guy once. He was absolutely incredible, but he had clinical depression. Unfortunately, I got the best of him one day and he just ghosted. I haven't heard from him since. I have no regrets though. He has a lot of qualities that I want in a mate and I'm ready to date again. He was charming, smart, funny, successful, the perfection of a southern gentleman with an adorable, I can't technology quirk, lovely southern accent. He managed to accidentally block me for months at a time, repeatedly on phones he didn't have a blocking capability. Wouldn't tell me where he lived after almost a year. He didn't even want to go to his city for a night out. It's the man's job to come to the lady. I dumped him. Not because I thought he was cheating on me, but aside from the constant, oh, I accidentally blocked you, I came to the conclusion he was using me to cheat on a wife or a long-term partner and wanted no part of that. I ended up filing a police report and moving apartments because he didn't take it well when I broke up with him. He spent hours inside my apartment demanding an explanation because he just couldn't understand that I didn't want to be with him anymore. He was convinced someone had talked to me into ending it, and if I just heard him out, I would change my mind. Took 3 visits from the cops and a change of address before he got the message. Currently in the middle of giving my nice guy a chance. He's not perfect and has no idea how to be a boyfriend at first, as I'm his first girlfriend, but he's very sweet and smart. The first guy who I felt so much of a connection to. Our relationship is pretty recent, but it's not the overly romantic kind with grand gestures. The charm of it lies mainly in how comfortable we are with each other and little mundane moments. Before him, I didn't date nice guys, and it never worked out for me. Maybe they were better at buying me flowers or picking the restaurant, whatever, but those relationships weren't as stable. In this one, I found stability and couldn't be happier. I think it really comes down to whenever or not they're what you're looking for. He was freaked up on all levels. He wanted a lot of weird things sexually and also had a double personality. One for the public, one for me. Weird, because he only started showing me his second face after a year in the relationship when we moved in together. That was a big mistake. Once I was trapped with him, the abuse started. Oh well, I moved out 10 days ago and I am fine. Some people who seem too nice usually hide something, but some of them are like me, been through some crap. I agreed to go to the movies with him that weekend. His behavior immediately got overbearing. I canceled the same day, well before the date even happened. He responded by stalking me for at least 2 years after. People I've dated would report being confronted by someone matching his description, who never gave a name but would tell them he was my real boyfriend and they needed to stop talking to me or he would hurt them. He also had the distinct of being the only person I've ever heard describe himself as a nice guy verbatim. He said it very often, including while wielding me into agreeing to a date. Nice Guy Finished Last by Green Day was literally his favorite song. Met him on Tinder and we went out to eat. He insisted on paying for it since I drove out there. We started dating. I remember thinking about 9 months in that we have never argued, quite the opposite of my last relationship. We moved in together and adopted a dog together. The other day we got into an argument and I realized that we had arguments. He just actually talked about it instead of yelling. We closed on a house and will reach our 2-year mark in a few weeks. I'm so glad I went against my normal type. I love him so much.